The protagonist Yoon Sol woke up from his sleep, once again haunted by the same recurring dream. For over a year now, his nights had been plagued by the persistent image of a boy from his past, a boy whose face he had tried to forget. At work, his colleagues admired his efficiency and praised his attention to detail. To them, the protagonist was the picture of professionalism, someone who excelled at everything he did. But beneath that polished surface, his thoughts often wandered back to the boy. After a long day, he decided to grab something to eat on his way home. He walked into a bakery. With only a few minutes before closing, Yoon Sol quickly selected a loaf of bread and approached the counter. It was then, as he raised his head to meet the cashier's eyes, that his heart stopped. Standing before him was the boy from his nightmares. The same one he had coldly rejected all those years ago. Yoon Sol stared at the cashier, uncertain if his mind was playing tricks on him. He tried to confirm the identity of the man behind the counter by calling his name. Kang Jun, who initially startled, quickly masked his surprise with a composed expression and informed Yoon Sol of the price of the bread. The brief moment of recognition passed as Yoon Sol paid using his card. Flustered, Kang Jun asked if Yoon Sol wanted a cash receipt, but Yoon Sol reminded him that he had paid by card. The interaction ended with Kang Jun thanking him and saying goodbye, leaving Yoon Sol to walk out of the bakery with more questions than answers. On his way home, Yoon Sol's thoughts swirled around the unexpected encounter. He couldn't stop thinking about Kang Jun, replaying the moment in the bakery over and over again. Even at home, the confusion lingered until he finally resolved to put it behind him. But that night, the dreams returned. In the dream, Yoon Sol found himself back in high school. Kang Jun stood before him, awkwardly confessing his feelings while offering a small gift. The memory twisted painfully as Yoon Sol remembered how coldly he had rejected Kang Jun, calling him disgusting. Jolted awake, Yoon Sol shot up from his bed, disoriented and disturbed. His heart raced as he tried to convince himself that this version of events wasn't how the confession had gone. But then the sinking realization hit him every time he dreamt about Kang Jun. The day that followed was always terrible. The next day was no exception. At work, everything seemed to fall apart. And that night, the dream returned with even greater intensity. This time, Yoon Sol took the gift from Kang Jun's hands and smashed it to the ground, crushing it beneath his feet. He woke up once again, his heart pounding, unable to shake the vivid images. It troubled him deeply. Why was his mind conjuring exaggerated versions of the past? He couldn't understand why the dreams showed him acting with such cruelty, insisting to himself that he hadn't been that harsh back then. As he reflected on the dreams, Yoon Sol recalled the various versions that had haunted his sleep. In one, Kang Jun had been flustered, in another, he was angry, filled with resentment, and in another, he had broken down in tears. The following morning, Yoon Sol lost in his thought, he accidentally cut his hand. When his friends noticed, concern filled their faces, and they asked what had been going on with him lately. Reluctantly, Yoon Sol explained the dreams, the strange encounters with Kang Jun, and the way his life seemed to unravel whenever he thought about it too much. His friends, after listening, offered a simple piece of advice. Perhaps it was time to make amends and be a good person to Kang Jun again. At first, Yoon Sol was hesitant to follow his friends' advice. Apologizing to Kang Jun felt unnecessary since he didn't feel guilty. But that night, the familiar dream returned, more vivid than ever. Waking up exhausted and desperate for peace, Yoon Sol finally made up his mind. He decided he would apologize to Kang Jun. If nothing else, maybe the apology would put an end to the dreams that had been haunting him. He convinced himself that if Kang Jun accepted his apology, he might never have to see him in his nightmares again. The next day at work, Yoon Sol went about his morning as usual. He was complimented by his co-workers on his outfit, casually asking if he was going on a date. They showered him with compliments, calling him handsome and saying he looked like a model. When they asked if he was joining them for lunch at the cafeteria, Yoon Sol politely declined, mentioning he had other plans. In reality, he had made up his mind to visit the bakery again to find Kang Jun. As he walked, he imagined how soon Kang Jun, like his coworkers would be impressed by his appearance and charm. He had already decided he would act natural, confident that things would go smoothly. However, upon reaching the bakery, Yoon-sol's plans hit an unexpected snag. Instead of Kang Joon behind the counter, he was greeted by a female employee. Disguising his disappointment, he casually inquired about Kang Joon's shift and learned that he would be working later in the day. Adjusting his plan, Yoon-sol resolved to return after work, determined to see his plan through. When he finally returned to the bakery, Kang Joon was there, but the reception was not what Yoon-sol had anticipated. Despite Yoon-sol's attempts to flash his charming smile and put his best face forward, Kang Joon remained cold and distant. He barely acknowledged Yoon-sol as he stated the price of the bread and quickly thanked him, cutting the interaction short with a curt goodbye once the transaction was done. Yoon-sol left the bakery, unsettled by the unexpected chill in Kang Joon's demeanor. It bothered him that his usual tactics hadn't worked. His looks, which normally charmed everyone, seemed to have no effect on Kang Joon. He realized that while Kang Joon might have liked his face back in high school, it wasn't enough to win him over now. Yoon-sol began to devise a new plan. He decided he would work on gaining Kang Joon's affection, slowly building a good reputation for himself. Once Kang Joon opened up to him again, he would apologize for the past. Yoon-sol convinced himself it wouldn't take long. Yoon-sol continued his visits to the bakery, becoming a regular customer. This time, when he walked in, Kang Joon seemed slightly surprised to see him again, but his cold demeanor remained unchanged. Meanwhile, Kang Joon overheard a conversation between his colleagues about Yoon-sol, who had earned the nickname the Handsome Man. His co-workers joked about how often Yoon-sol visited, admiring his good looks and charm. It was during this discussion that Kang Joon felt a small sense of relief upon realizing that Yoon-sol wasn't deliberately coming during his shift alone. Perhaps the visits weren't as calculated as he had initially thought. At work, Yoon-sol's transformation hadn't gone unnoticed. His co-worker commented on how his style had evolved recently, with some even speculating that he was seeing someone. When asked directly, Yoon-sol only smiled, offering no clear response. In truth, his thoughts were far more strategic. He had carefully split up his visits to the bakery, ensuring he built a solid reputation with the staff around Kang Joon. His well-thought-out plan involved dressing attractively and using his signature charm, but none of it seemed to be making a difference. During lunch, a few of Yoon-sol's co-workers brought up his newfound habit of eating bread. They teased him, asking if he was planning to buy bread again that day. Amused by the attention, they suggested joining him for the trip to the bakery. Yoon-sol agreed, and the group headed there together. Upon arriving, the female employee greeted Yoon-sol warmly, recognizing him as a regular. His co-workers, noticing the friendly exchange, immediately began teasing him, suggesting that he was visiting the bakery so often because of the pretty employee. The teasing comments hung in the air until the female employee, smiling, decided to clear the air. She casually mentioned that Yoon-sol even came to buy bread when she wasn't there, implying that his visits had nothing to do with her. Yoon-sol was taken aback by what the employee had revealed. He asked how she knew he came to get bread at night, and she admitted that Kang Joon had mentioned it to her. She quickly apologized for talking behind Kang Joon's back, but Yoon-sol reassured her, stating that he was just surprised that Kang Joon even noticed him. The employee smiled and added that Kang Joon was nice, but shy. This made Yoon-sol pause, reflecting on how Kang Joon truly was kind after all. Despite Yoon-sol's persistent visits, Kang Joon hadn't told him off or expressed any frustration. After the employee handed them their bread, Yoon-sol and his co-workers left the bakery. As they stepped outside, Yoon-sol couldn't help but smile to himself. Kang Joon hadn't been fully ignoring him after all he had discussed him with his co-workers. However, he knew there was still a long way to go before things would improve between them. For the next few days, Yoon-sol found himself swamped with work, unable to visit the bakery as frequently as he had been. The break in his routine was unsettling, but once he had a free moment, he decided to visit during his lunch break. As soon as he entered the bakery, he was greeted by the familiar female employee. Kang Jun, not realizing Yoon-sol had arrived, was startled when he heard Yoon-sol say hello. In his surprise, Kang Jun quickly turned around to see, but in his haste, he accidentally collided with Yoon-sol. The tray of baked goods Kang Jun had been carrying knocked into Yoon-sol, smearing his outfit with cream. Kang Jun immediately bowed and apologized, explaining that he hadn't realized Yoon-sol was behind him. Yoon-sol, however, found himself smiling inwardly, noting how it was nice to hear Kang Jun say something beyond the usual formalities he repeated during every transaction. As Kang Jun stood there, flustered, Yoon-sol bent down to pick up the cap that had fallen when Kang Jun bowed. Handing it back to him, Yoon-sol reassured him that it was fine, as Kang Jun hadn't known he was there. When Yoon-sol offered to pay for the fallen bread, Kang Jun quickly took hold of his hand, leading him to the bakery's restroom. Inside, Kang Jun frantically tried wiping off the cream that had stained Yoon-sol's clothes. Yoon-sol watched with amusement. He gently pointed out that it wouldn't help, but Kang Jun, feeling responsible, offered to pay for the laundry fee. Yoon-sol declined, insisting it wasn't necessary, but Kang Jun was visibly uncomfortable with the situation and kept pushing to do something in return. Seeing an opportunity, Yoon-sol casually suggested that Kang Jun join him for lunch at a restaurant on Saturday, adding that he always felt strange eating alone. When Saturday arrived, Yoon-sol made an effort to dress nicely for the lunch. As he approached the meeting spot, he spotted Kang Jun standing by the road, waiting for him. Yoon-sol greeted him warmly and immediately complimented Kang Jun's outfit, mentioning how well it suited him. Kang Jun shyly thanked him, returning the compliment as they made their way to the restaurant together. At the restaurant, Yoon-sol tried to ease the atmosphere with some small talk about how delicious the food was, and Kang Jun agreed. But then Kang Jun brought up something that caught Yoon-sol off guard. He asked Yoon-sol if he had graduated from Myeongsang High School. When Yoon-sol confirmed that he had, Kang Jun nervously admitted that he had also attended the same school. Stuttering, he hesitated before asking if Yoon-sol remembered him. Yoon-sol's mind raced. He hadn't expected Kang Jun to bring up their past so soon, and for a moment, he debated whether he should apologize right then and there. But instead, he feigned ignorance, telling Kang Jun that he didn't remember him. Kang Jun's face flushed red with embarrassment as he tried to say something more, but Yoon-sol quickly changed the subject, steering the conversation toward lighter topics about bread and the bakery. The tension in the air gradually vanished, and Kang Jun visibly relaxed. After finishing their meal, Yoon-sol insisted on paying for both of them. Kang Jun was surprised and questioned why Yoon-sol had paid, as he felt he should have been the one to cover the cost. However, Kang Jun then remarked that he would pay for their next meal, implying there would be a next time. Yoon-sol smiled to himself, pleased at the thought that their relationship was progressing.